point that I want to make today is that if one person is facing censorship for having opinions that somebody doesn't like, we're now entering a phase where you can be sued for offending someone, essentially.
Rediscovering the warrior spirit within. Serious times ahead, but we can do this. We have to. We have to.
So we have Kenye West, who declared is the wrong word, believes and publicly stated that George Floyd didn't die by a knee. Wasn't choked out with Officer Chauvin's knee. Rather, that was the perception from one particular camera angle. And so this is a huge deal, because when you think about what happened after George Floyd died, we had a moment where we could have came together as a country, but then that didn't happen. Instead, billions and billions of dollars went into Black Lives Matter, and it proliferated on such a huge scale that you had mainstream companies, big tech, hashtagging Black Lives Matter, and a lot of destruction came about from Black Lives Matter protesters, as well as Antifa being in the mix. So it was a big deal. And it's possible that the verdict on Officer Chauvin, I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing, you know, something is going to change with his sentencing, because they ridiculed this man, ruined his life. He's in jail over the perception of whatever his charge was, that, causing George Floyd to die. But I don't want to get too far into this, because there's a lot going on. But this is a huge revelation if true, and you can see the footage that Daily Wire put out. They put out today on Twitter. You could see one particular angle, the angle that made it to all of our TVs. That was the angle that we saw, and it gave the illusion, based on that particular vantage point, Officer Chauvin's knee pinning George Floyd's neck down, but then there's another vantage point over the shoulder, or just behind Chauvin at an angle, that shows Officer Chauvin's knee actually on the shoulder blade. This is insanely crazy. And if I was Officer Chauvin, rotting in jail right now, and in my mind, I'm assuming that Officer Chauvin doesn't believe that he did what that illusion portrayed him as doing with his knee. This is going to rock the world, and this is probably the angel that comes to Chauvin's rescue. We'll see what happens, though. I don't know. There's a lot of legal going to be involved in this one. So it's a big deal. And then you have Alex Jones also, who's, you know, as he put it, they nuked him, but one nuke would have been enough, but they dropped 25 more nukes on him, you know. So he's like $975 million fine that he's got to pay all these families, which will probably be overturned because it's overkill. And it's not like he killed anyone. And that's a dollar amount where a lot of killers don't pay hardly anything. So this is definitely political. So hopefully, and I pray for Alex Jones that this gets turned around. But the point that I want to make today is that if one person is facing censorship for having opinions that somebody doesn't like, we're now entering a phase where you can be sued for offending someone, essentially, right? And this is where, like, you can't just be one person griping about this. Like, every American should be griping about this, making a huge stink about this. Like, this is worthy of protesting, like en masse, because this is our First Amendment. And if you don't have your First Amendment, there's no function for the populace to really hold the government accountable. I mean, the last resort for holding the government accountable is the Second Amendment. I'm not going to get into that here now. But as far as free speech goes, it's something we got to cherish and we have to defend hell or high water, because you know that, like, you can smell communism, you can see communism starting to bleed through the orifices of government. It's coming into the public sphere. The culture is literally being divided by it. It's like an octopus with all these tentacles that is infusing itself slowly but surely, actually quite quickly actually. I mean, so anyways, I'm not gonna self-censor myself. I mean, I'm not gonna go out of my way to say anything unreasonable, but I'm not gonna self-censor myself, and I don't think you should either. I don't think you should be walking on eggshells about things that you feel really strongly about. And if there's ever a time to reinforce this, it's now, before communism really crystallizes in society. It's now, when it's still in its infancy. You know, the election, the 2022 midterms election, is right around the corner, and there's a lot on the line with this. So you need to be, first of all, you need to vote. You also need to get all your friends to vote. Make sure you get your lazy friends to vote. If you have lazy friends that don't have a ride to the voting polls, find a ride for them. You know, get them there. This kind of effort is going to help a long ways, and if we all did that, voila, you'll have a red wave that actually wins an election. If it's not hacked, if it's not stolen, if it's legit, we just need the outcome. We need to win the election. So, you know, we need the House, we need the Senate, we need the presidency, but that's 2024. But we can't afford to lose the House, and if we can get that Senate, we need that as well. Like, it's a big deal. And to kind of put this in perspective, if we lose this election because of some rigged perception or fact, the fact that it's rigged, but if it's perceived that it's rigged, even, I guess is what I was trying to say. 2024 is likely to have the same result. And if we don't have 2024, then it's very likely that we lose our country to whatever the liberal order wants, unless there's a civil war, right? And I wouldn't put it past the powers that be to actually want a civil war. It's so odd that in the last, since 2016, Trump's policies were very reasonable. He didn't do anything very extreme, but he's being called an extremist. We are being called an extremist for supporting him. And so we're taking all this on the chin, and we don't have the levers of power to defend ourselves. So we're just taking it on the chin, while these cucks and beta male soy boy commies are growing and gaining the levers of power. And if we lose in 2024, that's 4 more years of who knows what. And I don't know what's up with 2030. But that's only 2 years out from the next presidential election, which would be 2028. Which that'll probably be rigged even. That probably won't go red. I mean, so I just look at this as we need to win this to kind of dodge a silver bullet, so there's a lot of nefarious shit going on, but if we can just do what we got to do, exhaust all of our resources in doing the right thing, this is our best bet for a peaceful outcome. This is our best bet for, without going into the extremes, finding a kind of, the middle ground within the pendulums. Although it needs to be right wing, but like a soft landing and a soft entrance kind of thing, so that we don't put ourselves in a war situation where it's like Americans fighting Americans. Although sometimes I can't get my mind away from thinking about that's gonna be the eventual outcome, is a civil war where Americans are fighting Americans, because it does seem to be the case that we have 2 universes going on, living within one bubble, and they're incompatible. And so there's this chemical reaction that is, if it mixes, it's got an explosive effect to it, a flash bang kind of effect to it, where we don't tolerate each other anymore. And there's a ton of reasons for that. And whatever happens, I'm siding with the right wing because I'm a right winger, happy to say. And so I think about all those things, but the point that I want to say is I'm not going to self-censor myself and jeopardize losing our First Amendment. I'd rather just lose everything, lose all my shit, because this is what we've inherited, and I want your children to inherit what we inherited. A way to speak out against the ills and wrongs and sins of our government, without the full force of the government coming down on your head. Because by you saying something, other people hear it, and they can decide whether what you're saying has any merit or not. And that's what we need. We need to keep that kind of relationship going, because that's, if you said something wrong or something untrue, or you have a bad opinion, it doesn't destroy the government. It doesn't hurt the government. If the government does something wrong, they need to be held account. And that's the balance. They lead, but they have to lead in the right way. They don't get to just lead however they want. They are to reflect our values, the constituency's values, the citizens' values. And they're just currently not doing that. And so, but this is just a little bit. Imagine what 2028 would do, or 2030 would do. It just get worse, it get more extreme, right? So there's a lot of weird crap going on, a lot of dark, sinister stuff going on, and it's, if we excuse me. If we don't empower ourselves by coming together, the government isn't going to empower us. They're going to continue to apply pressure on us. They're going to continue to call us names like right-wing extremists, threats to democracy, racists, bigots, homophobes, whatever you want to, all the names. And they're just, writ large, they're not true, So, but when we're together, we can take it on the chin a lot more easier. And we're American. We're supposed to be a bit skeptical of our government. We just don't fall in line, not without really considering what the government is saying, what their intent is. No, that's not what our founders wanted us to be. That's not what founded us in the first place. And here we are in 2022, where we're losing this ability. So we got to dig deep. We got to find that courage. We got to hang on to who we are. Free speech has to be a thing that's not just a tool, but something that is part of the very fabric of the way you think. It's got to be absorbed into your identity. This is what makes us distinct from other cultures throughout the world, is we speak our mind. And when we don't do that, really shitty things can happen quick. I mean, let's not fool ourselves. A lot of people in charge, they want the playground to themselves. They would love to have a whole bunch of us gone. They would love to have a way to make a ton of profit. They would love to not have us be able to speak against them. Okay, so we gotta stay strong. We gotta look. I don't like everything that people say. There's a lot of things that are said that I just hate. It pisses me off. But it's better to be a free speech absolutist just is. I mean, outside of our country, there's a lot of dark realities that we could be facing if the basic pillars that we have in our system of government fail. Those dark realities that we're not used to seeing could easily come right on in and become a part of our life and really be hellish in comparison. I've been in some shitty parts of the world. I don't want that here, and I know that you don't either. Just keep our values as they are, our governance structure as it is, and let's just stay together to clean this shit up, and not be afraid to do so. Have the courage to be American. Being American is not supposed to be easy, but we made it easy. We let the technologies comfort us. You know, we're Selma-fied. But it's not supposed to be easy to ridicule some bullshit that the government is doing, because that's scary business. But you got to do it. You're American. That's what keeps the dark shit from happening. You know, you got to hold that dark cloud back by being who we're supposed to be. I know this wasn't very well articulated tonight. Forgive me, please. As long as the thrust of what I'm trying to say is getting through, then I'm happy. I don't want us to lose our free speech. I know that you don't either. It's going to take a little bit of courage to just hell or high water speak out. And if we all do it, they can't silence. They're not going to. They're not going to silence everybody, but there needs to be enough to say, fuck it. Do whatever you're going to do, because we're just going to say fuck you. We're going to keep speaking. You know, I mean, it's a numbers game. A certain number of us keeps platforms alive. And if a certain number of people are unwilling to self-censor, as they should, the platforms they won't ban you anymore. They won't, but they can do it because there's enough people abiding, submitting, and my mentality is to conquer this shit.